Thank you all so much. First off, I'd like to say it's a pleasure to be here. And as Barbara mentioned, I think it's like my 10th presentation with SoulSearch. And I'd like to first share with you guys my big why. And she kind of mentioned that in the opening introduction, is that my goal is to help us move from unconscious trauma-based reality to a conscious reality where everybody knows that they have the power to heal themselves. Does anybody agree with me when I make that statement? You have the power to heal yourself. Raise your hand, anybody? Okay, I got a few people, that's good. So that's the essence of my teaching. Now I want to share with you guys a little about my origin story, what got me to this place where I'm at this SoulSearch event, talking about this Enlightenment Expo and whatnot. So first off, I was born and raised right here in San Rafael, went to Terra Linda High. Any locals here? We got one, nice, there we go. Okay, so originally, back in the day, went to Terra Linda High School. I was a good athlete and whatnot. I was like, how can I beat the system, right? I was like, this system's whack, this isn't working. So I started working as a fitness coach. And I got my degree in kinesiology with an emphasis in nutrition, 6 personal training certifications, all that good stuff. And I launched my first facility, which I ran for 11 years. And I was very successful, even up in a second corporate facility. And I kept helping people lose weight, get in shape, perform at their best. But I realized I could give you the perfect diet. I can make your butt look great. But if your head was still full of crap, you weren't going to see the results that you truly deserved. And I always like to say that. I don't care what you want. What do you deserve? I often like to tell people to reframe the story they're creating for themselves, because so many people, their unconscious wounds are actually running their life. Now, when I say unconscious, does anybody here know what the word unconscious means? Unconscious? Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you?
It's like something that runs you that you're not aware of.
Yes, it runs you, but you're not aware of. Perfect. Anybody else? Unconscious mind. I'd love to hear. I'd like to get an idea what the audience, where you guys are at. Unconscious mind. Anybody else?
Is the 90% of what is beyond your behavior, actions, etc.?
Yes, 90%. That's. I mean, like maybe not exactly perfect, but yeah, I'd say a lot of it. So what people don't realize is that your unconscious mind is actually what's running your life. Now, going back to my origin story, I was running my gyms. I was very successful. I started making all these realizations about core wounds and the emotions and whatnot. And I had this back pain in my lower back. And I went to doctors, went to therapists, went to all these different like osteopaths, you name it. Spent over $20,000 trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And I finally got to this place where I was like waking up each day. I was in pain. I take pain drugs to run my gym. And I was living my dream running gyms. It was fantastic. But something was up. There was something wrong with my lower back and my sacrum. Luckily enough, I had attracted some healers and shamans in my coaching practice who I've been working with. And I went to one of them and I started working with one. They told me that I was carrying suppressed emotional pain from an abandonment wound. I'm like, you know that sound when someone scratches a record? Like what? I'm like, emotional pain in my body? I'd never heard of that. They didn't teach that when I got my degree in kinesiology. So this is what took me down this rabbit hole of understanding Eastern healing principles, of how emotions actually do get stored in the body, can actually be the root cause of many people's pain. So I published my book on my shadow work when COVID hit, and it's helped people all over the world to understand how the shadow works. Because who here knows what shadow work is? Just curious off the top of my head. A few people, yeah, you got some of the head nods. All right, good stuff. So personally, I feel that the future of health, healing, medicine is really going to come down to 3 things: our emotions, our nervous system, and our ability to regulate our nervous system so that we can actually integrate those emotions rather than suppressing them. Do you guys agree with that statement? Okay, cool. So let's get into how that actually works. Now, the first step, we have to recognize, and I want to say a little backstory. I was told 2 days ago to do the speech. So usually I practice like 10 times, and I didn't practice at all. I just brought a whiteboard, and I'm here to just have fun with you guys, all right? So what keeps people stuck, okay? Would you guys agree that there's a lot of issues with addiction in the world today, right? A lot of people are addicted to drugs, alcohol, like social media, like all these different things people are addicted. So let's go over this first concept here. So we'll call this the addictive cycle, all right? Let's put addict there so I don't have to write so much. So what happens with the addiction cycle? So I want to help you guys understand like where people are at and how we can begin to make a shift, okay? So what keeps people addicted? So this, I was actually teaching this to somebody a few minutes ago. So what happens is this. There's some type of stimulus, okay? I'll say just stim, right? People get stimulated. You go to work, it reminds you of like a childhood trauma, you're triggered, stimulation trigger, same thing. And that stimulus, or I'll put trigger here, right? Trig, that creates meaning, all right? That meaning creates an emotion. We'll just put emo for emotion. That emotion creates our behaviors, okay? So for years, as I mentioned, as a fitness coach, nutrition coach, I've helped the county of Marin lose thousands of pounds, okay, just by changing the way people saw themselves and their diet, okay? And so I had this program, worked really well, but some people weren't getting results. I'm like, there's something wrong with me. What am I not doing right? So I got to this place where I recognized the suppressed emotions is where the real change happens. Let me say that again. The suppressed emotions is where the real change happens. So this is one of the first things that I teach people. What I'm sharing with you guys today is just some of the fundamental principles that I teach before I work with people in my online school. Because I believe if we want to change the world, we got to educate people. You guys agree with that? Educate people so they know their power. So this is what happens. Hello, welcome. So oftentimes people are stuck, they're spiraling out of control because what's happening is this. They're so unconscious, they don't recognize that when they're triggered, they're going right back to the same old emotion and not taking time to investigate the meaning that they're creating. Now, what do I mean when I say meaning? Has anybody here ever heard of limiting beliefs? I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of love. Money doesn't grow on trees. I'm a victim. I'm not, like all these different stories that we create based upon our past traumas. And so when we have those traumas and it's in our physiology, you're going to the doctors, just like I was, right? Years ago, I was like, I'm a doctor's therapist, like, why am I not healing? What's wrong with me? None of those Western doctors was talking to me about my emotions. I actually went through a period where I was pissed. What's wrong with these guys? Why can't they tell me what it really is? But they're not being trained in that. And that's what took me into this beautiful rabbit hole of understanding the roots of our mental, physical, and emotional pain. Oftentimes, the more you suppress those emotions, you have it showing up in your body. You don't know where it came from. So one of the first things that I teach when I go over this simple cycle here is help people to identify the meaning they're creating. Now, what happens is when we live in this hyper yang society, we talk about yin and yang energy a little bit more later, hello, welcome, is that people, they'll get stuck in this cycle where they're doing this, where I will teach people how to meditate, how to do breath work. Those are key points. When I talk about breath work, activating the vagus nerve, so you can shift out of fight or flight mode into rest and recovery mode and be able to move between those two realms with ease. That takes time to practice, because if your nervous system is hardwired to creating cortisol, right, what happens is people experience this emotion, and that's where the hormones happen. People become hormonally addicted to their behaviors, and this creates more disease for themselves. So as I mentioned, they're spiraling out of control because they're not conscious of the meaning they're creating, what emotion is showing up, and the hormonal response that keeps them going back to like being at work, being triggered, I'm not good enough, I'm stupid, and they feel all these emotions, then they're eating ice cream or drinking alcohol or something like that. By the way, I'm 18 months alcohol-free tomorrow. Right? 18 months, proud of that. Because I got to practice what I preach. But the key thing for me, I'm doing energetic healing work. I can't have those toxins in my body. You know what I'm saying? And the key thing is, like, I want to help other people to recognize your vibrational frequency shifts when you cut a lot of those toxins out. This is all about healing. And to heal, what does heal mean? I'm curious, anybody know? What does to heal mean? Silence. To heal, essentially to heal, from like my training working with a Taoist shaman working with a medical doctor, this is my crappy yin yang. It's basically harmony between darkness and light within yourself. When we study Chinese medicine, I think the guy that came in before me, he was talking about Chinese medicine too. I saw some of his stuff. I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about too. Is that we want to have like the right side of the body's yang, the left side of the body's yin. When I do quantum healing and I test people's chakras, we identify which chakras are more yang, which chakras are more yin, and we create that harmonic balance within the body. When we have that, then you're not going to get sick. One of my favorite things about teaching alchemy, and I actually want to show you guys this real quick too. My mentor actually published this book a few weeks ago called The Healer's Process. I'll be teaching it in my online school this next month. Is that my mentor told me most people, they're in their yang energy. Okay, we have yang and yin, but also above and below. Our yang energy is here in the head. The yin energy is in the body. Many people, I should say a lot of society, they're in their yang, they're masculine, they're in their head so much, over-identifying with their own ego. Also, over-identifying with their suppressed emotions. I am my anger, I am my guilt, I am my shame. Because they're over-identifying in their head so much, they're disassociated from their bodies. Is this making sense? Because a lot of people are like, why am I sick? You're not in your body. I'm really tuning in a lot of the healers and whatnot. I'm still learning myself too, but when I talk to these different healers, we have the same conversation. All we're doing is getting people back in their bodies. It's really simple. And there's specific tools that you can do to accomplish that. It just takes time. And back to the point I was going to make about my mentor is that the goal of doing alchemical work is to become what's called, in Taoist philosophy at least, you become what's called a Taoist immortal. Not that you're completely immortal, but because you balance this yin and yang energy in your body, connecting the mind and the body together, you're not going to get sick. If you do get sick, you'll heal in a fraction of time. This also comes back to having not disassociated from your body. Years ago, when I had my own trauma and whatnot, when I told you guys I worked with that shaman, they told me, you're only 20% in your body. That was a big hit to my ego. I was like, damn, really? I was like, 20% of my body? So I had to do a lot of this work myself. I'm not having just talking to you guys about this. Like 10 years ago, I'd be giving a presentation on fitness and nutrition, which is good, but it's surface level. Speaking of surface level, all right, I'm going to show you guys my favorite picture. So you guys didn't know, like I said, I just literally planned on doing this presentation 2 days ago. They told me about it. So I'm going to show you guys this picture. I've been using this picture for, God knows, like 15 years. I used to give presentations on diet. I used to give speeches. People listen to my speech, they go and lose 30 pounds after listening to the speech because I changed the story that they were creating about who they are, who they're identifying as. So how do we do that? So I use this simple analogy of a boat, okay? And you were trying to get to your destination, which is this goal, okay? We'll just go right goal. All right? So you're attempting to get to your goal, all right? You're on this boat. This is you. And you are rowing towards your goal, all right? So remember I said a moment ago, surface level. Most people, they're focused on what's going on above the surface because they're in their head too much. You guys feel me on that, right? They're in their head thinking, did I think about that thought that I was thinking that I thought about? But did I think about it enough? And they're like overanalyzing, and overanalysis leads to paralysis. You're not going anywhere. So this is what happens. This right here is the conscious mind, okay? So like I'm going to, let's say you were trying to lose weight, get in shape, okay? Find true love, whatever it is. So you're doing, hello.
Hi.
Hello, welcome. So you're consciously looking to accomplish your goal, okay? So you're exercising, eating healthy, all that stuff. But the subconscious mind is what's going on below the surface, okay? And if the subconscious mind is going against you, you're essentially rowing against the current. Anybody here ever been on a kayak and you're like trying to get to a destination, you're rowing against the current? Pretty difficult, right? But essentially, the current is yourself. You're actually going against yourself. And the key point here, if you remember one thing that I say today, hello. If you remember one thing that I say today, the subconscious mind only works on images. It doesn't understand positive and negative. So if you have this image in your mind, this comes back to like the meaning and limiting beliefs. If you have an image in your mind, I'm not worthy of love, I'm a victim, I'm stupid, and that's what's going on here, how difficult is it going to be to accomplish your goal? Right? You're literally fighting yourself. I started realizing that after 20,000 hours of coaching. Why are all these people, most of my clients are getting great results. It's like 10, 50. Like, what am I doing wrong? I was really hard on myself. Like, wow, I got to figure this out. I was like, there's nothing to do with me. There's something going on deeper below the surface than the subconscious mind. So I've helped a lot of people change their subconscious mind, but this is where I start getting into the juicy stuff, start getting into the shadow work. Many people, I'd say a lot of people in society, they are sitting on the back of this boat. And they are looking at the wake of the ship. Anybody here ever study Alan Watts? Alan Watts, one of my favorite philosophers. I have like a man crush on his voice. Like his laugh is great. So this is actually something I took from Alan Watts, because he said so many people, they're doing this. They're sitting on the back of the boat of this is your life. This boat that's your life. They're sitting on the back of the boat like, oh my God, look at all my childhood traumas. Like, I'm going to sit here on the back of the boat and identify with them and wonder, why am I going crazy? Why aren't my dreams happening? It's just, you're literally driving yourself nuts because you are identifying with your past. But you look at the wake of the ship, it's strange. It's disappearing. It's literally disappearing. Do you guys remember what happened when you were 3? Maybe a little bit, right? We don't even remember that. But at an energetic level, you're identifying with your past trauma. Now let's get even deeper to a juicier space. This is where the shadow starts showing up. Many people have done this. They're actually stuck in the unconscious mind, okay? Which is like a rock that's deep below the surface, okay? And they throw an anchor into the water. Maybe multiple anchors deep in the unconscious mind. And now what's happening, remember that cycle I showed you, the addiction cycle, spiraling? They're now anchored to this emotion or a limiting belief of I'm not good enough and keep identifying with I'm a victim, I'm stupid, right? Or like identifying with their anger. Now they're just going in circles because they're stuck in that addiction cycle, consistently identifying with their past, consistently identifying with a suppressed emotion. You guys with me?
Yeah.
Is it making sense?
But there's kind of a lack of awareness, right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
There's a lack of awareness.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Like in my book, Shadow Awakening, super simple book. It's a workbook. I literally created this because I'm like, I'm just tired of seeing people suffer. If we gave people a roadmap, kind of like I'm giving you an example of a roadmap to understand your trauma, people can heal themselves. We don't need to go to therapists. Sometimes we do, right? We don't need as many prescription drugs. If we created a roadmap that teaches people how to empower themselves and heal. But on that note, I'll come back to this in a second, because you said awareness, you're so right. It's the first thing I talk about in my book. It's like I'm studying marketing right now. I'm like, how do I market this? Like, people can all heal themselves. Should I go on a mountaintop and start yelling, you can all heal yourselves, and just let everybody know? That may not work. But I'm looking at marketing. And like in the past, marketing was all about disempowering people, right? You're not good enough. You're ugly. You're stupid. Buy this product. Buy this car. You'll feel good about yourself for a few days, and then you're going to need a new one, right? It's all about disempowering. The future of marketing, specifically what I'm doing, how do we empower people? How do we help you to realize that you are the hero in your own hero's journey? Let me say that again. You are the hero in your own hero's journey. Now, for some of you who know me from my past, I grew up in the film industry. My father was actually George Lucas's sound mixer when I was a child. So I've always been around really successful entrepreneurs. I always believed if I have a vision, if I have an idea, it's going to happen. I built 2 gyms, built a film studio, published a book, have an online school. If I see it, it's happening. But I realized not everybody has that belief because they're struggling with limiting beliefs and stories and these things that are blocking them. It all comes back, like you said, awareness. In my book, I say the first step to your healing journey is awareness. The last step to your healing journey, awareness, but it's a higher state of awareness. Now, how does that work with this analogy here? What happens is you start to actually unearth and read the book, do the work. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about alchemy. We're talking about what's called the great work. It's your magnum opus. It's like the great work that you do on yourself. Harmony of yin and yang within yourself. So we talk about the unconscious. You start to work with your suppressed emotions. So like for me, I had all this surface level anger. I was like, man, I'm so angry, right? Like, why am I so angry? It's like, all right, I got to sit with this. I sat with my anger. I got a little deeper. I found fear. Okay, there's fear. Is there something deeper? I sat with more. Oh, there's the abandonment wound that the shaman told me about in my body. I finally found it. So I got to this space where I found the unconscious wound of abandonment. As I mentioned, my father worked in Hollywood. I have a great father. He was gone all the time. As a child, I didn't understand, why is my dad gone? Like he's living the dream as a Hollywood filmmaker, sound mixer, great listener, by the way. And I didn't understand why he had to be gone. So I had this wound around abandonment. And I kept on finding relationships where I would get abandoned. I was like, there's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with other people. Uh-oh, I got to face my own ego and realize I'm the one creating abandonment. That's a big part when you're doing healing work. You get to the space, you got to face yourself and realize, oh, like that narcissistic ex-boyfriend, you co-created it, and you got to face that and then actually go into that part of yourself. That's like the ugly, the beautiful part. Think a little about shadow work and alchemy. It's like, we're going to face the ugliest parts of yourself. And what do we find there? The gold. The ugliest parts of yourself is where we find the gold. Absolutely, without a doubt. Go into the darkest, ugliest cave. That's where that gold nugget of who you truly are and always have meant to be is waiting for you. It's sitting there. It's like when you do inner child work. It's like this wounded little child in the cave. It's like your anger that you suppressed as a child. It's in that cave. You finally sit with it. Have a conversation with it, but it's a conversation you have with yourself. This book will tell you how to do it. And when you finally face that inner child, that wound, that's when it's like, oh, you're finally facing me. You're finally integrating me. And then boom, that unconscious wound, the anchor comes off. Pull it back up on board. You start to shift the internal image of yourself. And now the current starts to take you to your goals with a fraction of the effort. You can fight yourself. You can go take prescription drugs to turn blue in the face and go to all these therapies. My vision is this. Your body already innately knows how to heal itself. Let me say it again. Your body already innately knows how to heal itself. Notice how this analogy is about water. What's your body made of? Right? So the whole goal, and this is what I'm really into, Taoist philosophy and alchemy, because it's really about flow state. When we talk about the unconscious, it's the dark feminine. Like my mentor, she's a shamanic coach. We have to go into that dark feminine space. And as we go into that space, this is the part that's challenging for people. It's like sometimes a part of you has to die, but in that sacred death, let me say again, sacred death, you finally find who you truly are. And that's when the dark feminine gives you that gold, that nugget. I'm using just different analogies for it. It's like inner child, dark feminine. There's different spaces where we can explain this to people. But the essence of this teaching is actually going through and doing the work to integrate those suppressed, repressed, and denied aspects of yourself. Because once you integrate them, then you actually finally fully discover who you truly were and always meant to be. And that comes back to my point I said earlier. I don't care what you want. Who do you deserve to be? So you want to change the story. Because when we change that story, we discover, say, when you want something, let's say like an example, I want to accomplish this goal, right? I want it, your subconscious, oh, you want it, it's not here, pushes it further out. I want it, pushes it further out. But when we shift, say, I deserve this, your subconscious mind, the image, you've shifted it, I deserve this, now it's coming to you. All by simply changing energetic frequency. Okay? Has anybody here studied Dr. Joe Dispenza's work? Anybody? Big fan? That's what people like, you explain Joe Dispenza's stuff so well. All right. In one of his books, Becoming Supernatural, and some of my nuggets of wisdom come from him. He's like the thing about Joe Dispenza, I love him. I don't like his meditations. His voice sounds like a 5th grade teacher. Like his meditation voice, I don't like it, but I love, he's a legend for the way that he teaches. But one thing that really helped me to understand emotions is there's this one section of his book where he has like a list. There's a great image where it explains different levels of emotions. Dense emotions like anger, guilt, shame, sadness, they're more linear, okay? So they're moving, they're like this, they're like, right? And they're more particle-based. We're getting into quantum consciousness a little bit now, okay? They're more dense. Now, if you learn to transcend, okay, end the trance, right? People stuck in duality, right? You can move from these dense emotions, let's say this is like fear, you're stuck in fear, versus you operate from love. Love oscillates at a higher frequency, okay? And this is more quantum. This is more wave-like, right? Here's waves, right? Okay? So what we want to be able to do is start to identify what is the core emotion. So I'm kind of like offering you guys some coaching advice. Like, what is your core emotion that could be here, okay? It's keeping you stuck. It's very dense. We're talking about Newtonian laws of physics, right? As we shifted from Newtonian physics to quantum physics. It's all in the last like 40, 50, 100 years that we've actually identified all this stuff. So what happens is this also is where we get sick. We're holding on to that fear, okay? And fear is held in our kidneys in Chinese medicine. You're holding on to anger, it's held in the liver in Chinese medicine, okay? Grief is held in the lungs. You're going to all these doctors, they can't figure it out. You're carrying all this grief. How do we get rid of it? When my mentor told me the first thing she does, breath work, the metal element, lungs, that's the alchemist. Let's start work with the breath first. We have to bring in that positive chi, remove that negative chi. Bring in the positive chi, remove that negative chi. If we have some time, I might actually do a little breath work with you guys. How are we doing on time? Any questions on what I've gone over so far?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Once you get to the unconscious and you realize, oh, there's a frightened child there, or whatever it is, does the awareness create the healing, or how does that work?
Yeah, great question. So the question was, does the awareness create the healing? And it does. The key thing is like it's different for each person. That's the thing I love about being a coach. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. I'm essentially like a detective that helps people understand what's going on and help them create a new roadmap to access that space. So it's different for each person. But at the end of the day, it's the energy in that space. Because in the conscious mind, I'm speaking to you guys with logic. That's beta brainwave state. When we get down here, this is like a much deeper space, and we have to actually feel our way into it because it's not logical. It's abstract. So when I say that, I tell people the first step is coming back to doing breath work, getting your energy back into the body. Because often the subconscious mind is associated with the body, right? So like when I do testing, like quantum healing work and whatnot, I'm seeing what's going on psychologically with the shadow work. And we do quantum healing, we see what's going on in people's energetic body and their chakras, the auric field and whatnot. We kind of bridge the gap between the two. Oh, this childhood trauma led to this, and that's why your energy got out of balance here. But coming back to the point is it's different for each person, but it's really just like sitting with it. Because it's like not for me to tell you how that works. When you're sitting in that space and you're slowing down enough that you're getting into your body, I always like to say, your body innately already has a message for you. It's getting that water to become calm enough that we can see below the surface. One of my favorite sayings that Alan Watts said too, I'm coming back to my man crush, Alan Watts, is that he said, let the muddy water settle. Because when we're in our yang energy, there's nothing wrong with yang energy. Yang is masculine, yin is feminine. So in our yang energy, it's like boiling water, right? You can burn yourself. There's nothing wrong. Sometimes you boil some food, cook some food, that's fine. But if we're constantly in our yang energy, which is movement, we can't see below the surface. So that's why, for me, like years ago, I was running 2 gyms, I had a film studio. I was like running an Airbnb. I was so busy, I was making 6 figures. Oh yeah, whatever, who cares? Like I was so busy. I was like, so I didn't have to face my emotional pain, which is most of society. I went through it myself. It wasn't until I slowed down and embodied that yin energy. What's the yin? The dark. My crappy yin yang symbol. Don't judge me. I'm a whiteboard artist. Okay. So when you finally sit with that darkness, that's the dark feminine. And in that space, I always like to say, it's like planting seeds in the soil. Interesting enough, the word soil, it's kind of like the word soul. They're almost the exact same word. You guys notice that? I'm really into wordplay. So when we plant seeds into the soil and we nourish them, it means slowing down, we start to actually authentically grow, but it's below the surface. There's like another analogy from this, right? So you start to actually plant those seeds, sit in that dark space, finally cry. Like I work mostly with women. When I work with men, I finally get them to cry and feel something. Oh my God.
That's big.
It's so big because so many, and it goes both ways. The men have been stuffing their emotions down. I got to work. I have to go to war and kill people on the other side of the country or the world. And like we've been bearing our emotions for so long. This comes back to the point that Barbara said when we started. For me, this is about healing the collective unconsciousness of humanity. That's why I'm here. That is the only reason I'm here, to heal the collective unconscious. Each one of you, when you do the work, right, whether it's my book or like there's lots of great people here doing their thing, find the frequency that works for you. Because when you do your work, we're all interconnected through the quantum field. You are literally healing the planet when you do your own work on yourself. Do you guys feel me when I say that? No pressure, no pressure, but you're literally healing the entire planet because we're all connected to the quantum field. One of the things that I love, it goes back to even when I was a nutrition coach, right? Like teach a mother, they used to call me the mommy whisperer. I was helping so many mothers lose weight. And my mom lose 60 pounds because I finally got her to stop eating sugar. I reprogrammed her association with sugar. Is that we actually take the time to work on ourselves. You are a vibrational being. Other people around you are going to feel that. So it helped these mothers lose weight and change their diet and their habits and their mindset, and the whole families have changed. I always tell people, like when I work with them, since the beginning of my coaching practice, is that everyone that I work with, you are like a drop in water. And you become like a ripple affecting everybody around you because you're changing your frequency. And this comes back to the emotions. If you're still, and there's nothing wrong with being stuck. One of my favorite, just dropping all these names in you guys. One of my favorite books is on Chinese face reading. Anybody ever study that? What's Chinese face? Yeah, I think I told you about it before. So Chinese face reading, I won't go too deep into it. I actually have a whole section in my school teaching. It's fascinating. Like actually, ancient Taoist doctors could look at the face and diagnose you in 3 seconds because your face is actually a roadmap to the body. Don't look me in the face and then start walking. I'm just joking. So, but the lady who wrote the book, Lillian Bridges, she actually died a year or 2 ago. But one of my favorite quotes is that she said, "There's no such thing as a good or a bad emotion, only stuck emotions." There's no such thing as a good or a bad emotion. There's only stuck emotions. That's another great one to take away from this presentation today. Because when we're labeling things good or bad, congratulations, you're still stuck in duality. Because when you identify things as good or bad, you're still identifying with your past. How could things be good or bad unless you're comparing them to your past? Like if you think you're the same person now as when you walked in the door, I love you, but you're still stuck in duality. When we start to truly operate from the quantum model, we are now operating from what the Buddhists call the middle way path. You have now transcended the darkness and light. And I'm making this sound like it's really simple, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm still working on this myself. But like something I've been working on with, I taught quantum psychology in my school last month. And one of the things I found interesting, there's this great mentor named Stefan Malinsky. One of the things he says, start moving through transcending duality is like recognizing when you judge someone. When you judge someone, I've been doing this myself. Like when I judge you, not that I'm judging you, but if I was judging you, like if you recognize that you're judging somebody, what are you not experiencing within yourself that you're projecting onto that other person? Boy, that hit me hard. Because I was like, I still these moments where I'm like, I'll fall back into my old self. Like what am I not experiencing in myself when I judge this person? Because that's showing me where I'm still stuck in duality too. Like I said, I'm still working on this stuff too, you guys. But the more you transcend, and I love that word transcend because if you flip those words, you're ending the trance that you're in. How do we transcend? End the trance that you're in. That is when you actually are shifting out of this dualistic consciousness where you feel separate from everything And now you're operating from a quantum consciousness where you feel connected to everything. If you feel separate from everything, your heart's probably going to be closed. You're not going to feel safe. Your nervous system's going to be dysregulated. But if you feel that interconnectedness with everybody and everything around you, that is the essence of this quantum model of consciousness. First chapter of my book, quantum thinking. How am I going to get you to access your shadow if you're still identifying with your past? How am I going to get you to access your shadow if you're still identifying with your past? So we have to soften up the mind to move you, I don't have space on my whiteboard anymore, to move you from this linear consciousness, where it's like, there's the past, there's the future, here I am stuck in this now, what will I do? Right? And collapse these into this present moment and start to move. This is Newtonian. That's where I can spell Newtonian. We'll just do Newtonian. And then we want to shift to this quantum model, which is more wave-like, okay? When we move to this quantum model, right, when we're here, it's linear, it's more particle, it's slower, it's more dense. There's greater risk of getting sick because you're identifying with those lower vibrational emotions. You're like I said, identifying with the past. And when we're here, we'll just put a Q because it's quantum. Now this is more yin and yang. This is the yang, the rising. This is the yin falling. You start to realize your life is always this wave, right? And then when you're in that space, that is when you start to operate from this place where you're transcending duality. It's like one of my favorite quotes was from Shakespeare. Nothing is either good or bad. Thinking makes it so. Because like I said, if you're still identifying this is good, this is bad, right? That just shows that you're still stuck in duality. So when I do coaching sessions with people, the first thing that I do, and as I mentioned, my father was a sound mixer. I listen to people at a soul level. What is going on here? I'll help you identify very clearly. I'm very brutally honest with what is going on here so that we can work on creating a roadmap to identify it, transcend that, and get you effortlessly moving towards your goals, and your body will not get sick because you're no longer suppressing emotional pain. Is this making sense? Good, I don't sound insane. Excellent. The thing is, like, this is some deep work, you know? It's deep. It's like the deepest and most profound work. Some of my friends are like, whoa, bro, why are you doing shadow work? Should take a prescription drug and go get a 9-to-5 job and keep working. Hell no, bro. Hell no. Right? Because if you look at the world today, the world essentially is going through a dark night of the soul. Anybody here been through a dark night of the soul? Still going through it, I think. No, maybe not. I don't know. Right? But that's a lot of what this is. It's helping people to move through that dark night of the soul. Is there any healers in this room? Anybody who identifies as a healer? So I have this great quote. I actually found this a couple days ago. I want to share this with you guys today. A healer is a swimming teacher for those drowning in the sea of life. They are not lifeguards. Let me say that again. A healer is a swimming teacher for those drowning in the sea of life. They are not lifeguards. I think it's like, I like sharing that because I coach a lot of healers. People are just getting in the healing space or coaching space. Because like, even I was like, I'm going to save the world. It's like, no, I got to have my own boundaries, protect my energy, stay grounded. That's a big one. Most people in the world are trying to ascend to the highest levels of consciousness. No, you're not until you do the grounding work. I'm going to say that again. You will not ascend until that dark feminine is embodied, because that's what you see in the spiritual space. Everything is love and light. No, it's not until you face the dark side, right? And like an example coming back to like the hero's journey, right? Is that like, essentially what this comes down to is like, you are all like Luke Skywalker. You have to face your own Darth Vader. And the work that I do as a coach and a healer in my Alchemy Healing Academy, I give you this lightsaber so that you learn how to use these tools and navigate your reality, because you're all your own healers. You're all your own hero. You always have been. We just forgot. We just forgot. And that's what we're here to do. As Ram Dass says, walk each other back home, because we have always had it within us. And the more people we get to do the work, that is how we transcend. That is how we activate this quantum level of consciousness. That's how we heal the collective unconsciousness of humanity. You guys feel that? Yeah. Checking on my time here. I got a few minutes to go. So, any other questions? I'll talk for days, but I want to make sure this is making sense to you guys. Any thoughts or anything like that? Question in the back.
Hi, thank you for everything you're saying. It's amazing. So you were saying there's, forgot this, the dark, no, not the dark, so the place between quantum and linear.
Mm-hmm.
What is your recommendation when you're on that pivot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I understand I'm staring at the wake, and I know that is so far in my past, it is not no longer serving
Yes.
present, right? So I'm aware of it, but there's still like that crossover space. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. You're totally right. No, it's a great question because like there's the challenge, and this is why I love teaching this, because people like some of you guys we're all at different levels in our path, right? It's like I feel my role as a coach help you fill in the gaps in certain areas where you're not seeing things. So that's a great question. Like, because this is still a third dimensional reality, right? But we're also operating in this quantum world. So how do you train your mind to be more in that quantum space? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Mhm.
So like you're going to oscillate between the two. Now the key thing is this, and this is not my opinion. This goes back to that book on quantum consciousness that I was teaching last month in my school, is that if you want to start training your mind to operate more from a quantum level, you have to recognize what emotions you're identifying with. And how you shift out of those spaces where you're identifying with those emotions is you slow down enough to pay attention to the space between your thoughts and begin to expand. Because what's there? Nothing. There's nothing there. Because at an atomic level, the deeper we go at an atomic level, your body is made of nothing. Before you were born, there was nothing. When you die, there was nothing. So like this soul and this body, you have all these identifications, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But if you're still identifying with the wound from your childhood and you're not making money, you can't find true love, or your body is falling apart, we have to start training the mind to actually identify at a quantum level of consciousness. So how do we do that? Like I said, that space between the thoughts, the space between your breaths, because we still are in a third dimensional reality. But the more you can train your mind to be able to oscillate between these two realities, then you're walking that middle way path, because you're able to see that duality and transcend it, because you're able to widen that space between your thoughts. Now, what I just said to you, you're not going to like start doing that instantly, like right now, like, oh, it's a great idea. I'm going to start just focusing on the space between my thoughts. It takes time and practice. Like I used to be a fitness instructor. I built 2 gyms. You don't like do one workout. Oh, I got abs, bro. And you're like automatically you're super fit. It takes time, right? And so like another example, like to help with what you're talking about. Anybody here ever heard of the 3 Dantians? 3 Dantians. So there's the Dantian essentially means elixir field or treasure. Okay, and there's 3 Dantians. I can like do a whole presentation just on the Dantians. So what do you want to do? There's like the lower Dantian, which is our Jing. This is our Qi. This is our Shen. Okay? So most people, they're in their head too much. So another way to start working on transcending duality is learning to tune back into the body. This also comes back to working with the subconscious mind. So something that we do, and we actually might have some time to do a little bit of it, is you do what's called central channel breathing. Like Darren teaches this, and actually my mentor who wrote this book, okay, I have a couple of these at my booth too, and I have copies of my book as well if you want to get a book. And like if you go to this is funny because like Karen over here, her lover Darren, he taught me this too, central channel breathing. You go to page 6 of my other mentor's book, The Healer's Process, and it's central channel breathing. So the key thing, coming back to the point that we're making with you, is we have to learn to get the chi out of our head and bring it into this lower Dantian. This is the feminine aspect. I'm a male. I still have feminine energy. And this is where we actually give birth to a new version of ourselves, right here in this lower Dantian. So what we'll actually do, let's do a little central channel breathing to finish up. Did I answer your question pretty well?
Yes.
Make sense?
Yes.
And let's give you
I guess what you're saying, like create the practices to change that muscle memory.
Yes, because your nervous system is wired to that trauma, and like it takes time to actually like what they explain in Taoist philosophy. It's like you got to empty your cup, and when you empty the cup, then the nervous system can become calm. If their cup's overflowing, that's over-identification. This is who I am. Look at all the stuff that I own. Like, why is my body falling apart? We have to learn to empty the cup. When the cup becomes empty, it's like this room isn't valuable. It's the space within the room. So when we empty the space, we actually get to the root of what it truly is. So often people need to empty their cup. And that comes back to like bringing the energy back here and getting out of the head. And that helps to expand that space between our thoughts. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I have a question.
Yes, question.
So like when you get triggered, right, and it's an
Yeah.
old wound.
Mhm.
So would the best thing be just to sit quietly and go internally to deal with that?
Totally. But you can't always do that.
Right.
You know, I'm driving, someone cuts me off. So I start to feel that anger come up, right? So that anger is my thing that I struggled with in the past. The anger comes up. This comes back to quantum psychology, is that when like an emotion comes up, don't identify with the emotion. See it just as energy. Let me say that again, because that's gold nugget right there. When the emotion comes up, there's nothing bad about the emotion. There's no such thing as a good or a bad emotion, only stuck emotions. When the emotion arises, right? Imagine like you're seeing it, allow the emotion to move through you rather than identifying with the emotion. Because the more you identify with the emotion, now you're operating as a particle rather than a wave. When you identify with the emotion, you are now a particle, you are no longer a wave, and you're not in the quantum model. So a lot of, like I said, the way that I teach, I give you a roadmap for your own healing, and it takes reps in the gym. That's why I have a school. We meet every week, do meditations, different teachings. Like I said, next month I'm teaching this book. I can't wait. It's like, I already read the book. I can't wait to teach more of it. But the point being is like, we have to do, it's one thing to like teach all this stuff, but we have to have an embodiment practice. So for the last couple minutes here, I'd like for you all to do a very simple meditation with like 2 or 3 minutes of central channel breathing. So just relax comfortably. I'd love for you to participate. If not, that's okay too. So what we're going to do, this is super simple. I've taught this to so many people, and it's like been a game changer, simple exercise. So what you're going to do, don't start yet. You're going to inhale into your belly or your lower dantian, a couple inches below the belly button. So then exhale down to the earth. Imagine inhaling from the earth into your belly, exhaling up into the heavens. Inhale from the heavens into the belly, exhale down to the earth. Okay, so let's do that just for a couple minutes to finish up, just so you guys get an experience, and do your best to imagine, this is a key point, allowing the chi from the mind to drop into the body. If you're forcing it, that's masculine energy. Allow it to drop. So let's do it just for a minute or two. Everybody inhale into the belly, exhale down to the earth. Inhale into the belly, exhale up into the heavens. Inhale into the belly, exhale down to the earth. Inhale into the belly, exhale up into the heavens. Inhale into the belly, exhale down to the earth. Just keep that rhythm going at your own pace for another minute, and just follow the guidance of my voice. Each time you inhale, imagine you're drawing this nourishing energy from above and below and charging that belly up. On the exhale, imagine you're releasing any energies that do not serve you into the earth or into the heavens above, and then bring nourishing energy back into that belly with each inhale. Just keep moving that energy up and down that central channel. I like to say that it's like an energetic shower. You're removing all the residue out of your body and your energetic field. So go for another 30 seconds or so. Just be in that lower dantian, that energetic space for a few more moments. And the key thing is just to enjoy reconnecting with your body and that lower dantian, also known as a jewel or a treasure within you. So go for another 15, 20 seconds, get a couple more breaths in, just so you guys get an embodiment experience. Beautiful. And we'll gently come back to reality, everybody, because we're about out of time. So it's one thing to do all these teachings, right? That's great. What is the root of the word spiritual? Ritual, spiritual. So it's great to know the teachings. I'm an expert at teaching, but the real change happens with the embodiment. So when you're in a situation where you get stressed out, somebody triggers you, kind of like that cycle I showed you, come back to this simple practice, central channel breathing. Move energy into the earth, draw nourishing energy into the body, connecting with the skies above, bring energy back into your body. So the simple tool that you can begin to apply. If you guys need any extra support, I have my book. It's only $20. I have an online school. It's only $60 a month. I'm here to support you, and I do one-on-one coaching. Thank you all. My pleasure. If you have any other questions, I have a booth set up right at the front. Come on over and say what's up. Thank you all so much.